I want to start this segment by giving us a little bit of some background. So I've got the ADL here and their description of the Boogaloo Boys, key points. Now you can read this whole article. It's really, really long. So you can read this whole article. But here are the key points, and then I'll fill in the spaces. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the definition of anarchism again. And now again, this is a video I'm going to be reviewing. Radicalized Michigan anarchist seeks unity with the left. Well, first of all, why is there a period in a YouTube title? That's improper. Second of all, anarchism is the furthest left ideology, right? That's what it is. It is a classless, stateless, egalitarian society, right? So Jimmy Dore doesn't know what the word anarchist means and thinks anarchist is someone who doesn't like the government. Well, by that definition, I guess 90% of Americans are anarchists, right? I guess George Washington was an anarchist, right? Even though he set up a slave state, he's still an anarchist, right? Facts and logic, right? So Jimmy Dore just doesn't know what the word anarchist means and is trying to compare Boogaloo Boys, which is a right-wing white supremacist militia movement, with anarchism, which is a far-left, egalitarian, classless, stateless society, right? He is going to conflate those things and try to say it's a good thing. We got to unify, whatever that means. So, again, I'm going to give you these key points, and then we'll get into the video. And this is going to be a long one, but I'm just, fuck it. The Boogaloo movement is an anti-government extremist movement that formed in 2019. And in 2020, Boogalooers increasingly engaged in real-world activities as well as online activities, showing up at protests and rallies around gun rights, pandemic restrictions, and police-related killings. The Boogaloo Boys started getting heavy promotion for the Michigan State Capitol riot, where they had a bunch of guns and stormed into the Michigan State Capitol, which, by the way, was a blueprint for January 6th that no one gave a fuck about, but hey, whatever. The term Boogaloo is a slang reference for a future civil war, a concept Boogalooers anticipate and even embrace. Okay, if you think an anarchist, I am an anarchist, if you think I want to dissolve the United States next week, and that's it, with no contingencies, you are a dumb motherfucker. That's what the Boogaloo motherfuckers do. They want to destroy the federal government just as soon as they can and just run around like fucking Mad Max or whatever and just like start killing people. That's the goal. But Jimmy Dore is going to call them anarchists. The ideology of the Boogaloo movement is still developing, but it is primarily anti-government, anti-authority, and anti-police in nature. Yes, I can agree with some of that, but again, just because I don't like the police and they don't like the police doesn't mean that them wanting to kill non-white people or non-straight people or non-cis people is a good thing. Like, hello. Most Boogalooers are not white supremacists, though one can find white supremacists within the movement. Again, if a movement is not explicitly anti-racist, then yes, racist people will get involved in that movement. That is why anarchism is explicitly anti-racist. Because, again, it is an egalitarian, classless, stateless society. The core principles of anarchism understand that you cannot have an anarchist society if people are racist. It's just not possible. And so the core principles of anarchism are anti-racist, unlike the Boogaloo movement. So you have to understand the core difference there. The Boogalooers' anti-police beliefs prompted them to participate widely in the Black Lives Matter protests following the killing of George Floyd in by Minneapolis police in May 2020. Boogalooers rely on memes and in-jokes, as well as gear and apparel to create a sense of community and share their ideology. Boogalooers have been arrested for crimes up to and including murder and terrorist plots. A lot of the people that wanted to overthrow the Michigan state government and capture and take hostage the governor of Michigan, those were primarily Boogaloo Boys and those and other white supremacist militias. Now, again, I want to read in the most important part of the definition of anarchism sourced by the anarchistlibrary.org. Anarchism promotes mutual aid, harmony, and human solidarity. Does that sound like the Boogaloo Boys? No, the Boogaloo Boys are just cringers that watched a couple too many movies and just want to go do that in real life. That is not the Boogaloo Boys. They are not anarchists. Just because you are anti-government does not make you an anarchist, okay, motherfucker? Learn what words mean. To achieve a free, classless society, a cooperative commonwealth, anarchism is both a theory and a practice of life. Philosophically, it aims for a perfect accord between the individual, society, and nature. In an anarchist society, mutually respectful sovereign individuals would be organized in non-coercive relationships within naturally defined communities in which the means of production and distribution are held in common. Now again, you can say that that's far off in the future. I say that that's far off in the future. But my point is that I want to strive to reach that point. And the way you strive to reach that point is not by unifying with white supremacists. I'm sorry. So now that we've gotten our terms out of the way, we have defined our terms, let's watch Jimmy Dore try to whitewash a white supremacist militia in real time.
Hey, a few days ago, I played a video of a guy speaking at the Michigan State Capitol, and to me, he looked like a right-wing gun guy. But his speech was super surprising. He identifies as a Boogaloo boy, and the young man reached out to us, and I had the opportunity to hear straight from the source, which is always better. So corporate media can't be trusted.
So I just wanted to be very clear here. I've reached out to Jimmy Dore. Has he let me on a show? No. Fuck that, right? I disagree with him. But a right-wing member of a white supremacist militia hops on and says, hey, Jimmy, yo, I want to come on your show. All of a sudden, 40-minute segment. 40-minute segment all of a sudden. Anyone that disagrees with me, nah, fuck them. But someone who is a part of a movement that, is the goal is to eradicate the government tomorrow, sure, yeah, let's bring him on. 40-minute segment, prime time. Now, again, this is the way this guy sums it up. So, again, I want to let you know the editorial decisions. Radicalized Michigan anarchists seeks unity with the left. This was written after the interview. This is the YouTube clip of the interview. So someone experienced this interview and said, all right, how do we sum this up? Oh, yeah, it's an anarchist, right? And then Jimmy goes on here and says, I interviewed a member of the Boogaloo boys. Again, can't even spell it correctly. Can't even spell the fucking word correctly. I interviewed a member of the Boogaloo boys. I was completely floored when he said he is pro-LGBTQ, pro-Black Lives Matter, anti-police brutality, anti-racism, anti-ICE, anti-war. What the fuck? First of all, it's very possible this guy's lying to Jimmy. Second of all, Boogaloo boys. Third of all, what? That doesn't all of a sudden make you an anarchist. So again, this guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Jimmy Dore's whole goal, his whole YouTube show, is to make you dumb, to make you not want to learn, to make you stop learning, and to make you just watch his show every single day. That's it. It's a narcissistic personality disorder that he's got, right? This whole show is about sapping away subscribers from everyone else, creating an echo chamber, and profiting from it. He doesn't care what's real. He doesn't care what's truthful. All he cares about is getting those clicks. And hey, I'm clicking, but guess what? You don't have to.
Corporate media is about creating fear and sensationalism, and I'm going to presume that this guy is genuine. The question I always think about is, how do we reach out to fellow working people like this? How do we find common interests? There are no easy answers, and these are always uncomfortable questions. And I'm not just talking about this in an academic theory kind of way, but in real world terms. We can't ignore this is happening in the country, and it's going to get worse. Working people are...
So here's something that's interesting. Tim Pool has decided to weigh in. A Boogaloo boy yelled as the Proud Boys walked past that they were bootlicking statist cucks. The media is lying to you about them, claiming they are far right. What does that mean, the media is lying? The whole point of the Boogaloo boys is it's a ragtag group of people that want to have a civil war tomorrow. Yes, a lot of them are racist. Yes, a lot of them are not racist. But the explicit goal of the Boogaloo boys is not anti-racism. So again, Tim Pool making an alliance with Jimmy Dore? Think about that. Tim Pool. Republican bootstrap motherfucker who thought Donald Trump would win 50 states. This guy is allying with Jimmy Dore. Isn't that interesting?
Being brutalized. People are alienated, disillusioned. People know they've been abandoned by their government, and now they're looking for community. They're looking for tribes and looking for connection, because we live in a failed state and a failed society. This pandemic has made it...
Now, again, I agree with a lot of this. I want to slow this down. We do live in a failed state. We do live in a failed society. But again, if you got rid of the state tomorrow, right? A lot of these people that attacked the Capitol on January 6th, they would go out there and try to kill trans people, gay people, like anyone who's non-white, basically. That's their expressed goal. And so the Boogaloo movement the goal of the Boogaloo movement is to give these people the auspices for them to do whatever they want. Again, if you're going to say that we want to dissolve the federal government, we need to be explicitly anti-racist and explicitly egalitarian in that approach. Otherwise, it gives people a wide berth to commit massive crimes against humanity. So again, Jimmy Dore's framing here is correct. We do live in a failed state, but the answer to that failed state is not, getting rid of all law enforcement and letting like caravans of fucking white supremacist militias run through major cities, okay? That is not the answer to this.
Explicitly clear that our government has abandoned its people. And how do we talk to them? Is the left going to turn into Hillary Clinton and call them deplorables and discard them? Instead of demonizing people because they don't hold the exact...
It's not about demonizing people that don't hold the exact same views. It's about saying if you are a racist person, you should stop being a racist person. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Am I saying that if you voted for Trump in 2016 that you're evil and you're beyond repair? No. I'm saying that if you voted for Trump in 2016, I hope you learned your lesson. And if you didn't, then I hope you learn your lesson now. If you'd have voted for Trump in 2020 and then you saw all of the bullshit that he did and then said, oh, wow, Jesus, I made a huge mistake, and then you snapped out of it, good. You should snap out of it. I want you to snap out of it. So it's not about demonizing and calling people deplorables. Yes, it is. If you are doing things that are bad, you should be called out for doing things that are bad. But you should be given the space to grow and become a better person. And again, if the Boogaloo movement, if they had like their chapters, right, all sign a pledge of anti-racism, that'd be great. That'd be great. But they're not doing that. And if they start doing that, I'll agree. There we go. And that's a step in the right direction. But they're not doing that. But Jimmy Dore is making it seem like they are.
Same set in stone ideology that we have. And if you actually traveled around America as I have, you will find people's ideologies are wildly inconsistent and always in flux and constantly changing.
Correct.
If there are people who are pro-LGBT...
And that's the thing. Jimmy Dore is trying to take advantage of that. He's trying to take people that would be left-wing, people that would maybe pick up a book and study history, and just make them watch his show over and over. That's the goal. Yes, people are possibly in flux, right? There's a lot of people that used to be like valedictorians and are now just like people that sit in their like, lazy boys and watch TV all day. That's fine. People can do whatever they want, right? But the idea that Jimmy here is trying to promote like some like, look, off-ramp of white supremacy, that's not the case. He's building, if anything, he's building an on-ramp to white supremacy. Now, if Jimmy Dore were to say, again, these people need to stop being white supremacists and stop affiliating with white supremacists and start having an anti-racist kind of like first principle, then yeah, sure, that's great. But let's see if he says that.
BTQ.
Also, I'm only 2 minutes in. I really got to go faster.
Against war. Against the corporate dominance of the state. People who reject the two-party duopoly and who work alongside Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And they want a general strike? Well, we have to be able to talk to those people. Because if we can't talk to those people, that's bad. That shows...
No one is saying you can't talk to them. And again, that's another gaslighting thing that Jimmy Dore says. There's a lot of people that were like, oh, but Emma Vigeland talked to a Trump supporter at a Trump rally and she's evil. Sam Cedar interviewed someone from the Lincoln Project and, was very against them in the interview, but, they interviewed them, so it's illegal. Jimmy Dore was on Tucker Carlson. That's great, though, because Jimmy Dore said Assange or something, and that didn't end up happening. But, like, again, these people have no... Like, it's not about... Yes, I would love to interview a Boogaloo boy. If a Boogaloo boy sees this video and wants to talk to me, let's set it up. But I'm not going to give you softball questions like Jimmy Dore is, and that's the difference. It's not a bad thing to talk to these people. It's a bad thing to whitewash their ideology and to try to inject them into the mainstream. That is the bad part.
Shows the weakness on our side. Yes, I would rather have the dudes with guns protecting Black Lives Matter protests instead of them threatening Black Lives Matter protests. Social movements should always be in dialogue. I presume this interview that I did with this young man is going to be used to attack me. And this interview is not an endorsement of any group because I don't know how representative this person is of an entire group.
This is called
I'm dropping the
damage
entire
control.
interview, and I think you'll find the conversation is full of surprises.
Now again, this guy is referring to a Boogaloo member as an anarchist. Again, there is a message and an ideology being displayed here. Jimmy is trying to say, oh, it's just a neutral interview. Oh, I'm just, looking at this guy. I'm just, just letting him speak. No, you are calling him an anarchist. You are lying, right? If you scroll down, 114,000 views, 12,000 upvotes. You are lying to them. 12,000 people clicked like because now they think an anarchist is someone who's anti-government. Jimmy Dore is making his fans dumb. That's what this is.
All right, so we have our first guest on. I'm going to get in big trouble for talking to this gentleman. We first saw our guest speak in a video of him in the front of the Michigan State Capitol. He made critiques of the wars, not just the war. He made critiques of the wars and the corporate-controlled state. He called for unity of the American people and of social movements. Well, let's play a little bit of it, shall we?
You know who else called for unity? Ted Cruz. Josh Hawley. After they led and gave aid and comfort to an insurrection that resulted in 6 people, mostly their own supporters, being killed, they called for unity afterward. Oh, you're gonna prosecute me for crimes against my country? Oh, but unity. Oh, unity. If someone goes out there and kills your mom, just shoots her dead in the face, like just shot like with a shotgun, her head got blown off, and then they called, oh, sorry, unity, please, unity. Would you say, oh, it's okay, unity? No, you wouldn't, because chances are they're going to go out and do that to someone else. You can't have unity without accountability, and that's something you need to understand.
Antifa, Boogaloo, and right-wing militias, they are the antibodies, not the disease that is destroying our country. The disease is a country run by 2 corrupt political parties that do not care about you. So deeply incestuous with corporations that they are indistinguishable from each other. A government that spent 6 months debating whether to give their own people $600, but only 24 hours to unanimously agree to give billions of dollars to foreign...
That's not necessarily true. The government did pass the HEROES Act. The Trump administration and Mitch McConnell are mostly to blame for that not going out. So I just want to be very explicit there. That what this is a misframe. Now again, yeah, corporations are bad. But if someone says corporations are bad, but they also want to kill transgender people, chances are I'm not going to talk to them.
Tyrannical governments and corporations. A government that has bombed villages overseas my entire life for my supposed safety here. This is a call for unity. For all of American people that realize the true threat against us to come together. For every mother mourning our children that was killed by police. For every business crushed down by state lockdowns. For every broken soldier sent to fight wars that have no point. This is our last chance to avoid either...
Sorry, this guy in the ski mask is like really creeping me out with that like stare at the can. Like, I'm just saying, like...
a tyrannical government or a bloody and pointless civil war among American people who do not have that much against each other and have more in common than they realize. And a message to the government. We come in peace. We do not intend to commit violence. But I am pleading with you, with tears in my eyes and cracks in my voice. If you continue to oppress the American people, they will remain rational no longer. Thank you.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I played that with
It's a
Ron
great
Pacone
ending.
on our show the other day, and we couldn't find anything in that speech we disagreed with, and I wanted to explore his beliefs further. So he was kind enough to reach out to us, and he goes by the name, ready? Magnus Panvida. And there's a story behind that name. Please welcome to the show, Magnus Panvida. Hi, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Jimmy. Nice to meet you. Kind of crazy that I'm here. I would have never...
So I just want to say this guy's got the pride variant of the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Again, it's cringy. It's cringy. Like, it's super cringy. Okay, well, I've got the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, which was founded in white supremacy and slave owning, right? But I'm just going to put the rainbow on it, and that makes it better. What? What? Like, that's literally what corporations do. Oh, you got the Coke can, and now you got the Coke can with the rainbow on it? Well, how did you get that Coke can? By, manipulating and abusing slave labor overseas? And child labor? Well, you got a rainbow on it, so I guess it's okay now. That's literally, what this guy is doing is literally what corporations do. So I just want to point that out there. This guy's anti-corporation, but doing things that corporations do. Interesting.
expected to end up here, but long-time fan.
I would never expect to be talking to a right-wing guy
Interesting. So a Boogaloo boy is a longtime fan of Jimmy Dore? Huh.
in a Hawaiian shirt. I never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more of an anarchist, but...
Oh, okay, all right. We'll get it. So let's get into it. Let's get in.
So this person self-identifies as an anarchist, and Jimmy Dore's like, okay. All right. Just takes him at face value. Again, Jimmy Dore makes you stupid. If Jimmy Dore were smart, or wanted to be smart, or wanted to educate his audience, he would have interjected there and said, oh, actually, anarchism is defined as an egalitarian, stateless class society based around mutual aid and anti-racist principles, right? And this guy might even say yes, or he might, backpedal. Who knows? But we're not going to know because Jimmy Dore didn't do that.
First of all, tell people how you got your name. Now, I found out that your parents were hippies.
Yeah, I was raised in the middle of nowhere next to a little pagan hippie commune that I used to go to. I used to be an environmental activist my whole life. So, yeah, kind of not what you would expect for most people.
Wow. Okay. So, and how did you get the name?
We had to come up with kind of our own names on the commune. We didn't want to go by our own names, so everybody had their witchy, hippie D&D names essentially. So I came up with that when I was like 13. I've used it ever since.
So now that is not. So are you okay? So that is not what people think of when they think of right-wing militia types or the Proud Boys or Boogaloos or anything. That's not what they think. They don't think of a guy brought up on a commune, got to pick his own name, his parents are hippies, and he spent most of his life as an environmental activist. That's not what people think of. So how did you go from that to Boogaloo Boys?
Oh, that's just because kind of the whole thing the media doesn't talk about with the Boogaloo Boys is we're more of like the libertarian Green Party militia. Like if I wanted to join a regular militia that flies Confederate flags and it's a bunch of fat old white dudes, that's there. But we kind of formed out of a bunch of libertarians and anti-war activists and everything wanting a place of our own. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the colorful Hawaiian print and, a lot of our...
So again, the Boogaloo movement started as basically people on 4chan looking forward to the Civil War. It is, again, the organizing principle is looking forward to the Civil War. That is the organizational principle. Whereas you have something like Black Lives Matter, where the organizational principle is anti-racism and that black people shouldn't get shot and killed by police every single day. You look at something like anti-fascism, where the core organizing principle is being against fascism. The core organizing principle of the Boogaloo movement is looking forward to the Civil War. It has nothing about anti-racism, nothing about anti-fascism. Sure, people in there could be anti-fascist personally, but I honestly wouldn't trust them if they were in there, to be honest, because they probably don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's all a bait and switch. You have to look at what the core organizational principles are of these militias and of these organizations before you can start saying, like, giving people room to whitewash them.
Our members being LGBT and, across the entire, every ethnicity, every spectrum, and we wanted more of a home for ourselves. So we kind of grew out of not wanting to be the traditional right-wing conservative white dude militia.
So you're not about hating gays, and you don't hate the gays?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I was told
Look,
that.
see, I've got my rainbow Coke can. Hey, everybody. Hey, kids. I got my rainbow Coke can. I love the gays. Ha 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 ha.
Myself, so.
Oh, well, you better. Okay, watch out. So. Jude Law, is that your guy? That's my guy. I don't know who I don't know who you go for.
Orlando Bloom, actually.
Great choice.
So
Let me watch too much Lord of the Rings as a kid.
so now I already got in trouble for even playing your video on my. When I say in trouble, I mean the usual bad faith attackers came at me. The people who want to keep us divided, the people who take corporate money, that kind of stuff.
Again, if this guy were to stop organizing with 4chan white supremacists and start organizing with people that are not Boogaloo Boys, sounds great. I would say that that's a good thing. Again, I'm all in favor of de-radicalization and moving resources to doing things that are better. If this guy is like personally an anarchist and he personally, his personal organizational principles are anti-racism and it just so happens that the only people he knows are Boogaloo Boys or whatever, okay, well, I'd suggest maybe going getting some other friends. That's my suggestion. But again, if this guy wants to turn around and stop using words incorrectly, that's great. But as of right now, that's not the case, and I want you to understand that.
Now, tell me about because since I played your video, other blue check reporter types have been sending me news articles about how the Boogaloo Boys are violent.
Just for reference, I've got 8,000 YouTube subscribers and do not have a blue check on Twitter, and I know this stuff. But again, this is one of the things that they do. Oh, the blue checks. Oh, the blue checks. Oh, wait. Oh, shit, Jimmy Dore got a blue check. It's actually a white check because I'm on dark mode. Damn, Jimmy Dore's got a blue check. Isn't that crazy how they do that? Isn't that crazy? How, like, New York Republicans will decry, oh, the coastal elites. California Republicans, oh, the coastal elites. Like, bitch, like, you went to, like, a fucking $1 million college and are a CEO for a massive corporation that's literally on a beach house. Oh, the coastal elites! Oh, the blue checks!
Racists and terrorists, and they even killed a cop, and a couple of them got arrested on the way to a rally, a Black Lives Matter, and they had explosives. Now, that's not made up, right? I saw it on 60 Minutes.
No, that's not made up, and obviously we're an entire national movement, hundreds of thousands of people. You're going to have idiots, you're going to have accelerationists and extremists and people that do things that we don't want them to do. And
now, again, that's downplaying it. It's like when Charlie Kirk was like, oh, the people that stormed the Capitol and, like, got people killed. Oh, it was just a dumb decision. It was unwise. Remember, that's what Charlie Kirk said? It was just unwise. That's something a silly person would do. Oh, yeah, going out there killing cops and trying to, accelerate a Civil War too, which, again, Boogaloo comes from the meme Electric Boogaloo. So like Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo turned into Boogaloo Boys. That's the etymology of this terminology, right? So again, it's about organizing for a civil war. That's the whole purpose. And now, if this guy personally doesn't want to do that, he should join a different group. But he's not doing that. Instead, he's whitewashing the group.
And it's become even harder now that we're banned off of all social media that we can't even keep track of the idiots in our movement and deal with them. So that's, been fun.
Oh, so you're saying...
I have an idea. Get a new movement. I have an idea. Maybe go out there and, create an anti-fascist chapter or something. I have an idea. Do something else. If I were starting a company, let's say I were going to start a worker cooperative, right? And then all of a sudden, 75% of the people in my worker cooperative were racists. You know what I would do? I would leave and I would go join a different worker cooperative. That's what I would do. This is not what this guy is doing. And if this guy wants to do so, if this guy stumbles upon my video critique and then says, oh, maybe that's a good idea, maybe I'll do it, that's great. You should do that. You should do that. You should not whitewash these 4chan white supremacist groups.
That by suppressing the speech of the most extreme members and the most violent members, it's now hard to tell who they are.
Yeah, and a lot of, people on Twitter and everything will be like, oh, you guys might not be neo-Nazis, but there are neo-Nazi Boogaloo people. And I'm like, well, I don't know where they are. I can't find them or talk to them. They're on a million different websites, so I can't deal with them. We can't go out and purge these people from our movement because we've been blown all over the internet. When we were all on Facebook, we had this under control. We never had this problem. But once we got banned off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I even got banned off of Google and PayPal.
Yeah, I know. And so you're saying the censoring of people more extreme than you, and actually people who are violent, the censoring of their speech is now actually creating a bigger problem because it's harder to identify those people and weed them out.
Now, I just want to say I'm against censorship. I'd rather see these people's dumbass posts. I just want to say that on a personal level. But again, the idea that they're purging these people, if this guy personally wants to purge these people from the movement, that's great. But the idea that that's happening on any level, outside of this guy's personal, opinion, I'm sorry, but that just seems a little silly to me.
Absolutely. When we were all on Facebook and we would be in group messenger and everything, and a guy was like, oh, I had a really bad day. I think I'm just going to, do something stupid. I'm going to fly off the handle. We can't wait any longer. We could all talk him down and be like, no, that's stupid. Don't go out and do that. That's not what we're about. And we could all work that out. Now that guy's on some parlor chat buried deeply around a bunch of really iffy people egging him on. There's no one there to tell him, hey, that's not what this movement's about. We're not here to just go out and shoot cops and commit terrorist attacks. It's never been what it's about.
So I've been told that the Boogaloo Boys want a racial civil war.
No, not at all. The whole calling it a Boogaloo, the whole meme behind it was just that it's a bad sequel to original because it came from the Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo movie, which was just a bad sequel to a bad movie. And in our context, it just means some form of civil conflict, whether that be a peaceful singing revolution, whether that be some awful government civil war, whether that be a second revolutionary civil war, or to the idiot neo-Nazi types, they would consider it a race war. And that's a meme that's been around forever. So when it comes to us, we are more of we view this as a upcoming, hopefully peaceful second American revolution where all of these groups, like I talked about, come together and we tell these giant corporations and these two political...
So hold the phone here. So this guy's giving up the ghost a little bit. So I'm holding the phone. If you are not holding the phone, I suggest to go find your phone and then hold it for me. So this guy is saying, okay, we won a peaceful revolution, but if it doesn't happen, then what? So if you are in the minority of the Boogaloo movement and the minority wants to not kill gay people, right? That's the minority of the Boogaloo movement. You are a small section. And so if you personally want a peaceful revolution, by the way, what does that mean? Are you going to define that? We'll see. But if you want a peaceful revolution, what happens if that is off the table all of a sudden? What's the second order of that? Let's see if he says.
Whole parties that we're done with them. We don't want them anymore. It's time to go.
And so... Oh. So you do understand, though, when people see you
He doesn't extrapolate at all. Interesting.
In military gear with your beard and you're carrying an AR-15 or whatever that is, that immediately it scares the shit out of people, and that they think all bad things about you, that you are racist, that you want violence, and, because the president just stoked the violence on January 6th and stuff like that. So you do understand that, though, right?
Yeah, I get it. I have disagreements with it, but especially after this whole summer and everything, I've traveled around to a lot of events, and I can tell you now, everyone has guns. The BLM protesters have guns, the Proud Boys have guns, we have guns, the cops have guns. Everybody's walking around really armed. I had a gun pulled on me in Detroit over this summer by bikers.
Again, having guns, I'm pro-gun personally, but pro-gun responsibility. Having guns is not necessarily problematic. But when you have guns and you're organizing under the principle of let's have a second civil war, That's pretty problematic. Whereas, let's say you have guns and your organizing principle is defending people from, fascists. That is a lot more of a well-tuned organizing principle. Let's say your organizing principle is, I don't know, like Black Panthers or whatever, just to show strength so that, people do not, police or like politicians don't go and attack community members or whatever. Sure. Right? But if you have guns, all of you have guns, and your organizing principle is let's have another civil war, I'm sorry, that's a recipe for disaster.
When I was doing security for a BLM event, which was funny. So
You did security for a BLM event? How did that come about?
Because before the mainstream media even wrote a single article about us, we had blown up everywhere because all across the country, we were showing up to George Floyd events, because the unreported story behind all of this is we have a lot in common with the Breonna Taylor story, because within 48 hours of what happened to Breonna Taylor, separately in Maryland, a man named Duncan Lemp was killed in a no-knock raid. The police shot him through his window and shot his pregnant girlfriend. They then lied about why they got the warrant. They lied and said they shot him from inside the building when it came out only 2 weeks ago. Almost a year later, they killed him from outside of the building. So then we started going out as libertarians, going out to BLM events with, Breonna Taylor signs, Duncan Lemp signs, being like, hey, this is across the political spectrum. This police state thing that's going on, they're killing everybody. And we're out here and we're in support. We disagree with this. So all summer long, we did both marched in solidarity.
Again, sure, maybe this guy did on a personal level, and that's great. And I'm glad that he did that, right? But now he's going to go out and say that, oh, we, the Boogaloo boys, we. Is this guy speaking for every single Boogaloo boy? Because that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. And that's my problem with this guy is trying to say, oh, I'm doing something that's good, therefore everyone around me is doing something that's good. Except, yeah, there are neo-Nazis around me, but we're doing great, and also we can't find them anymore, but we're doing great things. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just, instead of organizing under a second civil war, why don't you just organize under anti-police brutality? Why isn't your group it doesn't make any sense. It really just doesn't.
And in some cases did security for BLM events where you had these other groups coming to fight people. And we were welcomed with open arms across all of these. Like, I can send you a million Facebook posts and live stream of people being like, we're so happy you're here. We love you. And then the media establishment caught wind that there was armed white libertarian dudes marching in support with a bunch of socialists and BLM and everything. And they said unacceptable. And they dropped the hammer. And that's when all of the Department of Homeland Security and anti-extremist researchers came out of the woodwork and like, oh, these are white supremacists. These are evil people. They're only there to kill people and everything. And
well, I love how they're trying to claim that a couple people on Twitter doing some research into 4chan is they. Oh, they, the mysterious they came for us. It's not like we posted everything on public forums and people just did specific name searches that only lasted a couple weeks until they found out all of our information. No. It was they. It was them. They came for us.
Ride began.
So you were actually welcomed by Black Lives Matter. You actually provided security for Black Lives Matter. You actually marched in solidarity against police violence because you realize it's not a left-right issue. It's a us against them issue, right? It's the cops against us. It's the establishment against...
Now, I agree. It is the cops against us. But if someone says, hey, man, I hate cops, but you know who I hate more? The transgenders. You know what I'm going to say? Hey, nice to meet you. I'm going to go the opposite direction. That's what I'm going to say. Right? If someone says, I hate cops, but I love the transgenders. All right, let's do it. Let's hate cops together. Right? And that's my point. Is just because someone agrees with me on something doesn't mean we agree on everything, and doesn't mean it's okay when they think that trans people are evil. Right? That doesn't, reminder, Jimmy Dore thinks trans people are evil. Reminder, Jimmy Dore supports a politician, Tulsi Gabbard, that thinks trans people are evil. Reminder, Jimmy Dore's, network of people also think trans people are evil. So I'm just saying, it's interesting that this is the unity that he's preaching. Unity for me, but not for thee?
It's us, and the laws all favor them, and it protects them. And you're right. I think I agree with that. How could you disagree with that? How about... And so tell us some more... Would the majority of the Boogaloo boys agree with your sentiments that you said in that video and what you're saying right now? Would the majority of the Boogaloo boys agree with you?
Absolutely. Pretty much our core foundation is if you're not a bigoted piece of shit and you understand that both parties are the problem and you're willing to do something about it and you're willing to get out in the streets and you're willing to make your voice heard, you're welcome. It doesn't matter where you come from or what you do.
Okay, so hold the phone. Everyone get your phones out. Okay, so this guy said that there are neo-Nazis in his movement. Right, if you look at the ADL's page on it, it outlines that there are neo-Nazis in the movement. So this guy's admitted that there are neo-Nazis in the movement and says that he talks them out of being neo-Nazis. Okay, he just talks neo-Nazis in his group chat out of going out and committing terrorist attacks. All right. Now he's saying that the majority of people are not neo-Nazis. Okay, well, what is the majority? Well, the majority is just 50 plus 1%. Right? That's what the majority is. So yeah, sure, maybe is it like 51.374% of Boogaloo boys are not racists. Okay. Well, what about the other 49%, right? So again, he's not given really any specificity here, and that's what's super bizarre.
So it doesn't show it, but I walked in, the woman standing next to me is a local BLM organizer for Lansing, Michigan, and I walked in with the local anti-fascist organization as well. So it wasn't just us standing up there. It was the local BLM, it was the local anti-fascist organization, and it was the Boogaloo. And we kind of represent this idea we've been pushing of the Unity Coalition. And we're growing pretty big in both Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan, to where we've been marching together constantly. There's a Boogaloo group in Kentucky, in Louisville, called...
And again, I think that that's a good thing. However, I think it's a bad thing that you're attaching the Boogaloo name to it. You don't need to do that. If this guy personally wants to march with Black Lives Matter and anti-fascist protesters, great. But you don't need to call yourself Boogaloo to do it. You don't need to attach a 4chan white supremacist meme to you to do that. That's what's so bizarre. Also, look at fucking Jimmy Dore's freeze frame. Jesus Christ.
The United Pharaohs Guard that's been out with BLM protesters every day.
That's not even a freeze frame. That's a resting position for him. How long has Jimmy Dore been in that position? Let's count.
There's a Boogaloo group in Kentucky, in Louisville, called the United Pharaohs Guard that's been out with BLM protesters every day since the very beginning, and they're welcome with open arms.
So
6 seconds.
You know the history of people
Wow.
who do this kind of thing. You know what it is, right? The people who try to combine the populist left, the populist right, to fight the establishment. You know the history of people who do this, right?
Yeah, we get mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah, and killed out in the open. I mean, that's what they do. That's what they did to Fred Hampton when he did this. So but
now wait. Now he's conflating Fred Hampton with the Boogaloo Boys, a guy who has a "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
You're gonna do it anyway. So you reach out to the Black Lives Matter. You reach out to Antifa. The Boogaloo Boys reach out to Antifa. The Black Lives Matter. You march. You're anti-war. You're for peace. You're against racism. You're against police brutality. What would be some other big things?
Pro-sex work decriminalization, legalize all drugs, end all the wars, close the ICE detainment camps.
Where did you get that from? Why are you against? So you're against the ICE detainment camps?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the border things, I'm more of an open borders guy.
Again, the guy's core organizational principles are we want to dissolve the federal government. Of course he's going to be against certain things in the federal government. Oh, you're telling me someone who wants to get rid of the federal government is against the federal government? What? Wow! Like, whoa!
But even looking at it from a conservative viewpoint, if you got to deport people, then deport people. Why are you holding people in camps? Why are you holding people in these horrible, uncomfortable positions? If you don't want them in the country, then deport them. Why are you doing this? It's awful. It's inhuman.
That's also weird. If you don't want people in the country, deport them. What does that mean? Who's you? Okay, so you're arguing to dissolve the federal government, and now you're saying that a federal government could have the jurisdiction to deport people? What? And again, that shows that it's an inconsistent ideology. It's inconsistent. He's not about egalitarianism. He's about anti-government. Yeah. If we want to reserve the right to deport people, but I don't want the federal government to make those decisions for me. I just want to get my gun and my pickup and go around town.
Maine, and if this was going on at any other time period under
That's true. It was longer than 6 seconds because I had the video sped up. I forgot about that.
any other presidency, people would be burning the country down over it. Never again is what we said. But we're putting people in camps again.
So people. Well, I want to say who are your political opposites, but they're not, because the whole point of your thing is that we have a lot of agreement. And so what I've said on this show is that, the problems we're facing right now aren't left-right issues. They're oppressive issues that affect all of us. And so we have to fight those first so we can get back to fighting a left-right issue.
So, Jimmy Dore, if that were true, what you would try to do is de-radicalize white supremacists that are poor. That would be your goal. You would try to do the best you could to find as many poor white supremacists and people that hate trans people and gay people, and you would try to de-radicalize them and then say, hey, come with us and organize with us and we'll help all of us. That's what you would do. Instead, Jimmy Dore's going on Twitter, and all these people are going on Twitter. Brianna Joy Gray, Ryan Knight, they're having meltdowns on Twitter saying that they just want the right-wingers to come to us with no conditions. Yeah, let's just unify with people that want to kill transgender people. Great idea. You don't want to de-radicalize them and make sure that they're... Nah, fuck it. Just do it right now? What?
That's what I look for. That's almost a luxury, being able to fight Democrats, Republicans. Right now, we know there's one party of war, one party of Wall Street, one party of a big pharma, and...
according to the Chicago Sun-Times, this is a $5 super chat from Rick's Americana, thank you, Kyle Rittenhouse was associated with the Boogaloo Boys. Wow, color me shocked.
Health insurance companies and fossil fuel companies. They own all, and Silicon Valley, by the way, which is why we're all being censored.
Yep.
So that, to me, that's the bigger problem right now that affects...
We're all being censored, I say, on my YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers with 114,000 views. I'm being censored. You know, I actually had a video removed on YouTube. Somehow I don't have a YouTube strike, but I had a video removed. Let me go look for the tweet real quick. I got censored. Did Jimmy Dore retweet me and say, "Oh, Andrea got censored. Oh no." Let me get you the note I got. I got censored by Big Tech. Where's Jimmy Dore? Is Jimmy Dore tweeting me out and saying, "Whoa, Andrea got censored"? So my stream on January 6th, where I streamed rioters breaking into the Capitol, right? Probably, to be honest, one of the best, if not the best streams I've ever done, was removed from YouTube because Donald Trump said the election was stolen at some point in the video, and therefore it was removed from YouTube. So I got censored. My video got removed. Meanwhile, Jimmy Dore, 114,000 views. I have 100 views. This guy has got like 100 times what the views I have are, and he's claiming that he's getting censored. It's bizarre, it's ludicrous, and it's ridiculous.
Left, right, center, middle. It's a class war that we're in right now, right? You feel that it's a class war?
Absolutely, and that's where we butt into it with conservative groups a lot because we're very anti-police, and they're like, "Why do you not support the police and everything?" And it's like, well, as a gun owner, who's going to come and take that gun? The cops. As someone who likes marijuana, who's going to come and arrest me for that? The cops. So, you know, we run into that trying to explain to people that, like, no, it is the top versus the bottom. It is not the left versus the right. We can argue about healthcare when we're not dropping bombs on foreign countries. We can argue about, you know, how much we put into public education when people aren't having their doors kicked in and killed in their homes and it turns out to be the wrong address.
I mean, we can do both, first of all. Like, yeah, sure. Would it be, like, if we could all unify to get rid of police brutality, that's great. First of all, that's not going to happen. So in the meantime, I think we should all organize and do our thing and then also advocate for all things that are good at once. Again, if you're an anarchist, which I am, you would be advocating for improving education. You would be advocating for improving access to healthcare, improving food security, improving housing security. Instead, this guy is not one of those things. He's claiming that he's an anarchist. He's trying to utilize the terminology to lie about it to other people to make it seem like it's something that it's not, which, by the way, is what Donald Trump does. Remember, Donald Trump tried to claim that the Capitol breachers were anarchists. What? Those were your guys, dude. All of a sudden, they're anarchists? What? Right? And that's what this guy's doing.
There's more important things going on.
So yeah, like so.
And again, it goes into the thing. Yeah, there's more important things going on. What does that mean? Well, for you, maybe getting killed because of your gender identity might not be the number one thing on your issue. Hey, lucky for you, right? I've had neo-Nazis send SWAT teams to my house with the intent to kill me. Personally, I don't want to organize with those people. If you say I'm a beta cuck because of that, sure. I don't want to be around those people, and I'm happy that you've never had to, endure such a traumatic scenario because of who you are. I'm happy for you, right? That's great. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden police brutality is the most important issue. Is it a profoundly important issue? Absolutely. But to say everything else doesn't matter, let's get our guns and shoot cops, let's start a civil war, that's nothing. That's garbage. That's gobbledygook.
We would agree on the war. We would agree on the corporate control of our government. We would agree on police brutality. We're not going to agree on the Second Amendment. And we probably won't. What about healthcare? Because what do you? I'll tell you what. I go back and forth on the Second Amendment. I was always against guns, and then I was like, well, the only people who don't have guns in the country are the citizens. The cops have them. And then
if you want to go into that really quick, I actually had. I'm assuming they were neo-Nazis, but I'm not sure. Show up to my house in the middle of the night after a protest and scream things I couldn't say on YouTube at my window at 3 a.m. And I called the police, and they told me they couldn't do anything about it, and that they weren't even going to show up to do a wellness check. So that's why I have that there.
Oh, okay. I hear you. All right. Yeah, I hear you.
Interesting. Interesting story. Totally real, but just interesting.
I'm back to being against guns again. I know.
Been lurking for a bit. Not 100% sure who these folk are, as I'm from the UK. Oh, God, I wish I were you. But you're making good points to their arguments. Didn't realize you were as good at political commentary as well as Doom. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I like to be as good as I possibly can at everything that I do. So when it comes to playing video games, I like playing video games. I try to be good at it. When it comes to talking about politics, I try to, read books. I try to stay, aware of things, and I try to read the news every day so I know what I'm talking about. Jimmy Dore doesn't do that. This guy doesn't do that. They go on 4chan for their daily news roundup. So I'm just saying, like, it's, you know, when you read the news every day, after a couple years, it does stuff.
I'm back to being, this is the one issue I go back and forth on. I'm against them again because the cops are always going to have more guns. They're always going to have more guns, right? So, but because the argument was always, well, we need to have our guns to protect ourselves from the tyranny.
So again, for example, I agree with the organizational principles of, like, you know, for example, the Socialist Rifle Association, you know, organizing, you know, poor people to train them to use guns properly. Because, hey, there's a lot of neo-Nazis in that town and you don't want to get caught in a bad situation. It's always a better idea to know how to use a gun than to not know how to use a gun. Now, does that mean I think everyone should have fucking armaments and AK-47s on all of the walls in their house? No, I don't think so. I think if you don't want to have a gun, you should have every right not to have a gun. I don't think we should be in a society where I, for example, feel the need to have a gun because I'm targeted online by neo-Nazis. Why am I in that position where I feel like I need to have a gun to defend myself against neo-Nazis? Well, personally, I want to deal with the neo-Nazi problem. Now, I just want to say a lot of Jimmy Dore fanboys come at me and say, oh, Jimmy Dore's further to the left than you. Reminder, Brianna Joy Gray called him an anarchist. Jimmy Dore an anarchist, Brianna Joy Gray said. And this guy, Jimmy Dore, is talking about how the Boogaloo boy is an anarchist. So Brianna Joy Gray is calling Jimmy Dore an anarchist. Jimmy Dore is calling, and this guy is calling himself an anarchist. And Jimmy Dore doesn't even believe in gun rights. The guy is waffling back and forth on gun rights. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I get so many people claiming Jimmy Dore is to the left of me, and Jimmy Dore is, like, waffling on guns. I mean, it's just weird. It's weird.
Of the government, right? And to protect our rights.
And, of course, he's waffling on whether or not neo-Nazis are a problem. It's weird. This guy's to my left? Well, I mean, if you're looking at the way the stream is set up, he's actually to my right. See? That's funny.
Except the government already took your rights away. They took away we live in a surveillance state. You have the Fourth Amendment's gone, and now they're taking away our freedom of. So when are you? I always say, well, you have your guns. Why don't you go get your Fourth Amendment back? And of course, that reveals that that's really not what it's about. The people like guns because they like guns, and you like it for your own personal protection. That's what you're saying. So it's not really about defending ourselves from the government, right?
Well, I definitely think when you talk about, you know, the more older right
For me, if I were to get a gun, it would not be to defend myself against a tyrannical government. It would be to defend myself against neo-Nazis who found out what my address is. That would be why I would get a gun. No other reason. To defend myself from neo-Nazis. That's why a lot of people I know would be interested in getting a gun, to defend themselves from neo-Nazis. Right? If I were to walk the streets at night, when I walk around my house, when I first moved to North Carolina, one thing I liked to do where I lived previously was walk around at night. And so when I first moved to North Carolina, I tried walking around, you know, at like 8 p.m. Not that late. I had a bunch of people like fucking like drive up to me, right, and try to like tell me to get in their car and like fucking like try to like fucking stop me. I had to like run away from a dude, like, because they were being very creepy with me on the fucking street. And I was like, I can't leave the house at 8 p.m. I can't. It's impossible. If I leave the house at 8 p.m. with no defense, I'm probably going to end up dead, right? Because someone's going to try to rape me, they're going to realize I'm trans, and they're going to kill me and throw me in a river. That's my situation. So I've been interested in maybe if I learn how to use a gun, if I want to go on a nighttime walk and I have a gun, I would feel a lot more safe. It would not be to defend myself against the police officer. It would be to defend myself against people that want to kill me, right? Regardless of their reasoning for wanting to do so. That would be why I would have a gun. So the idea that you would organize like gun rights around the idea that you're going to rise up against the government, I'm sorry, that's just dumb. So I agree with Jimmy on there, but I mean, again, this whole calculus is just silly.
Guys that say like, oh, we will use our guns to get our Fourth Amendment back, and then they lick the boot. We're different. We're a younger generation. We're over that. Our event in Virginia that happened on the 18th, which was the day after mine, we showed up with Black Panthers, we showed up with armed leftist groups, and they recently passed a law that said you're not allowed to have guns in the capital of Virginia. And all of those groups walked in armed to the teeth, side by side, and walked in there because we're not licking the boot. We're not doing that. We're going to follow through on this. And, you know, I've always said, don't go out and start a fight with the government. Just stop participating in the government and prepare yourself because it'll come to you. You know, if you're doing a rent strike, if you're doing a tax strike, you don't have to go on the offensive, but they will come for you afterwards.
Yes.
And that's when you defend yourself, if you feel that way.
So people say, why show up to the Capitol with a gun? Who are you looking to shoot someone at the Capitol?
Well, it's particularly at those very steps. We've showed up to BLM events and everything, and we've watched some of those ladies that were with BLM get jumped and get beat up and have their property torn up, and the cops just stood there, just watched it happen. So then the BLM people started showing up with guns. They have rifles, they have, you know, they're concealed carrying, and we showed up as well, and that stopped happening. So it's more so towards the line of the police will not protect you anymore. At any of these events, they won't do anything for it. Just a couple of weeks ago in Louisville, there ended up almost being a gunfight in the street because a car blew through 2 lanes of traffic and drove straight through a Black Lives Matter protest and almost ran 3 people over and started shooting. And the police didn't do anything about it. They didn't block the road. They didn't pursue that vehicle. They didn't help anyone. They just stood there and watched. So that's kind of, where we're getting to in this country, and why you see a lot of left-wing people not only purchasing firearms, but showing up.
I think it personally is a bad idea to go to a protest where everyone has guns. I would not feel comfortable in that scenario. I would not recommend doing so because, again, as this guy described, it's very possible for you to get into a gunfight. I don't want to be there. I don't want to get into a gunfight. That's not something I'm interested in personally, right? So I'm just saying, like, advocating for all of your followers to get guns and to go arm up and go to protests, it's immature and it's going to get people hurt, right? In the same way that Jimmy Dore says, oh, go get your yellow vests and go out there. It's like, what? Go out there and do what? You're telling people to do things without telling them exactly how to be safe about those things. What are you even telling them to do in the first place? I don't know. It's a little bizarre. So let's see if there's pushback.
Up to events with firearms is because the cops aren't going to do nothing. They don't care about you. They're there to protect property and the government. They don't care about the people.
I mean, Bernie Sanders works with people like Mike Lee, who's a pretty extreme right-winger in the Senate.
So no pushback.
I don't know if he's ever worked with Ted Cruz on anything, but you don't seem.
I think they co-founded, authored. What bill was it? I don't remember. They did work together once though.
Oh yeah, Bernie and Ted Cruz did work together. Look at that.
Yeah.
And you don't seem as extreme as Ted Cruz to me.
So again, conflating Bernie Sanders working with another senator on legislation to, oh, let's go get a bunch of guns and go in the streets with these guys that secretly want to kill trans people. Those are two different calculuses, but to Jimmy, they're the same. In the Senate, you just work on legislation to say stop a war, and that legislation stops the war and does nothing else. Good. Right? But as these guys, all right, let's work to overthrow the government, and then when we work to overthrow the government, then what? Then what happens? Oh, yeah, then they get in their fucking Mad Max pickup trucks and shoot us all. So it's like, those are two different things, but Jimmy Dore, in his mind, in his world, they're the same. Why not?
You don't seem as extreme as... You seem way more rational and reasonable, and... I saw the 60 Minutes piece they did on you, and or not on you, but on the Boogaloo Boys. And,
I was in that though, in that documentary for Lansing.
Oh yeah, you were in that. Okay. No matter how many times. Well, let me go. So we seem to agree on some of the big problems in our country. You and I. Would you agree that the
perfect comment from Rachel Atwood? Anyone else feel like this guy is telling Jimmy exactly what he wants to hear? Yup. And Jimmy, again, he's not a journalist. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's not going to push back. He doesn't even know what the word anarchist means. This guy said, yeah, I'm an anarchist, bro. And he put it in the title of his YouTube video. That's how he takes things at face value. Remember Jimmy Dore watching the Lava Jato thing and saying, it's a good thing that Lula da Silva got thrown in jail over corruption charges. He was corrupt. Why do I think he's corrupt? Oh, I watched the people that threw him in jail's video on it. And didn't ask any questions and didn't look up any other information. That's what this guy does. Oh, the guy said he's an anarchist? Well, whatever that means in the title.
Corporate capture of our government's a big problem?
Oh yeah, we essentially live under a fascist state. If you define fascism as corporations and government working together, then we live under that 100%. You see the secret bailouts, you see the public bailouts, you see how these big...
If you define fascism as something that's not really the definition of fascism, then we're living in a fascist state. Wow.
These big corporations can do almost anything, and they never go under. You don't hear about these mega corporations making one big mistake and falling apart like they're supposed to do under capitalism. They last forever. And definitely, they're so in alignment and they work so hand in hand that I don't even consider them private companies. You see a lot of conservatives and libertarians being like, oh, Facebook's a private company. They can do whatever they want. They receive millions of dollars from the government. They get exclusive contracts from the government. They work with government, work with politicians daily. They're an arm of the government. We have the department of Facebook, essentially. It's not even a company anymore.
Right. Wow, that's well said. That's a good way to put it. I think it's a good way to put it. So what do you...
No pushback. Oh, fascism is just a corporation getting a bailout. It's not, I don't know, maybe, for example, Donald Trump convincing a bunch of people about a big lie so that they try to overthrow the government and install their own dictator so that they can do whatever. Nah, that's fine. So fascism is when Comcast got a bailout? I'm sorry, yeah, that's bad. Sure, absolutely, I agree that it's bad. But to say that that's fascism, and then Jimmy Dore is just going to go like, oh, sure. You're an anarchist. Sure, put it in the YouTube title. Why not?
So we agree on a lot of... So what do you think are some of the solutions, right? How do we fix the war problem? How do we fix the social media problem? Do you have any solutions?
I definitely think if we're talking in the realms of the cleanest and most, least violent way to do it, I think mass non-participation, mass strikes, mass protests, tax strikes, stop getting involved. I've told a lot of people that I like the idea of the Chaz of just declaring an area declaring itself being like, hey, we don't like your government anymore. We're not going to participate. If you're going to use my tax dollars to blow up brown kids in the Middle East, I'm not going to pay taxes anymore. If you're going to send your police departments into a certain neighborhood, or you're going to run a ICE detention facility in our city and we don't want it, then you're not getting my city taxes.
Now, I just want to say I agree with that. Now again, you can't just go ahead and do a fucking autonomous zone with no planning. Planning is a huge aspect. And if you're going to plan something, you need to make sure that everyone in that group agrees on stuff. You need to make sure that no one in that group's a racist piece of shit or a transphobic piece of shit, right? And that's my problem with the Boogaloo movement. It's like, yeah, sure, good idea, but also your best friend's a neo-Nazi, so it's kind of skeeving me out a little bit. I don't want to work with you.
I will not participate anymore. And people got to stop being afraid of the consequences of those actions and start putting their money where their mouth is.
Wow. I did not expect you to say some of the stuff you're saying. Like I certainly did not expect you to say that you wanted to get rid of the ICE detention centers and stuff like that. And that's fucking wild.
Politics is crazy in the new century here we have going on here.
So, but people would say that you and I that the people like me should not reach out or work with people like you ever. That's what people would say, even though you're anti-racist.
So what is Jimmy Dore saying? Many people are saying that we should never work together on anything. Many people. Who's saying that? What are they saying exactly? So I know how you're mischaracterizing what they're saying. Why is that relevant? And also, well, who gives a fuck?
You're pro-LGBT, you're anti-ICE, you're anti-police, you're pro-peace, anti-war. I don't know what, but even though they already did. I don't know if you saw, but I don't look at my mentions on Twitter anymore for the last month and a half or so, because I don't like to see people I know say mean things about me. It hurts my feelings. So I don't, but my friends were telling me that they were giving me a hard time about even featuring your video. Did you see any of that?
My friends were telling me. Yeah, my friends that are totally not going to only tell me things that would make me happy or feel better. Right? No, yeah, my friends were telling me. Many people are saying. Many people.
No, I didn't see any of that. I only saw glowing support, which surprised me because I've gone, the last 6 months being told. Alex Jones did a conspiracy theory about me. I was actually on a show. He said that I was a paid CIA informant to destroy the Second Amendment. So I'm used to catching it from both sides all the time. So it was actually refreshing to see people in support.
So Alex Jones is your enemy on this?
Apparently I'm some CIA action. You see it a lot from the right and the left. Like if we'll go to a Second Amendment protest, and the left will be like, "What are you doing?" But then we'll go to a Black Lives Matter protest, and the conservatives will be like, "Oh, you guys are all communist destroyers," And so, especially being libertarian and being in this weird middle ground, just used to all sorts of people claiming a bunch of things.
So this guy is simultaneously a radical centrist and also an anarchist. Interesting.
Things about us that aren't true.
I think the Hawaiian shirts are a great touch. Honest to God. I know I'm not making a joke. I think because you guys look scary. You're carrying fucking guns. You're in military garb. You got big beards, which Steph and I make fun of beards. We do that. Just so you know.
Oh,
I mean,
I
you.
know.
Right.
Look, it's so luscious.
It is.
All right, I'll give it to you. I will say he's the first. Do you like his beard? I don't know. I generally hate beards, but he kind of pulls it up.
Hey, you make Tucker Carlson want to pardon Assange, and I make Jimmy Dore like beards. This is correct.
And so you guys are also against censorship, right? So you're for Julian Assange?
Yeah, free Julian Assange, free Ross Ulbricht, free Edward Snowden, free Chelsea Manning. I mean, I think our Chelsea already got freed, but
yeah, but she didn't get pardoned. She got
pardoned.
She just got commuted, right?
Yeah.
So they can.
I mean, I think our Chelsea already got freed. Snowden, free Chelsea Manning. I mean, I think our Chelsea already got freed, but
yeah, but she didn't get pardoned. She got
pardoned.
She just got commuted. She didn't get pardoned.
Our Chelsea already got freed, but
yeah, but she didn't get.
I have no commentary on that one. Just interesting.
Pardoned. She got she just got commuted, right? So they can still mess with her.
Yeah, against all of that,
Wow. Well, it's going to be funny to watch people twist this interview to somehow attack us.
Well, they'll just say that
it's going to be funny. He says it's going to be funny, but he's not going to watch this video that I'm making. He's not going to respond to my points. He's not going to say anything I said is untrue and explain why. If Jimmy Dore ever stumbled upon this video, he would just go like, "Lol, corporate sellout." Even though this guy's got 1 million subscribers, I don't even have 10,000. This guy's almost got like fucking 1,000 times my audience, but I'm the corporate sellout? It's going to be funny when people make fun of me. It's like, what?
I'm lying about all this. They'll just say that I'm making this all up to reach out to the left and that we're secretly infiltrating all of these groups, which is why we show up in Hawaiian and are very loud. We don't. It makes perfect sense.
So you're saying it would be ridiculous that you guys are trying to infiltrate. You guys are easily identifiable by your Hawaiian shirts and your LGBT flags.
Yeah, if we were sneaky white supremacists that were trying to infiltrate left-wing movements, we definitely picked the most inefficient and preposterous way to attempt to do that.
Actually, no, you picked a pretty good way to do that. Look, you got your rainbow Coke can in the background, and it's like, oh, we're cool, bro. I know my best friend's a neo-Nazi, but no, we're cool, bro. It's the same shit Nico House does. Yeah, I know I work with neo-Nazis, but I'm a leftist, bro. We're cool, man.
Well, the fight is top to bottom right now in America. It's not left to right. Chris Hedges has said that on our show. I've said that. Lots of people make that point. It's obvious. It's obvious that it's not a left-right fight anymore. And I can't wait to get back to the days where we can start fighting over how much to fund education and how much. But so what let me ask you. So just before we go, just to see, what about now? You're young. Have you ever been sick? Seriously ill?
Oh yeah, I have a nice suite of kind of autoimmune issues. So.
Oh, do you? Yeah. Now, do you have health insurance for your work or anything?
Oh, of course not. And I can't afford private insurance either because of our weird middle ground where we're not private, but we're also not public. We're this weird corporate in-between medical system. It doesn't work for anybody.
So you don't have health care?
Thank you for the $10, JL. Dark money.
You don't have Obamacare even?
Nope.
Wow. Okay, so where do you fall on the healthcare debate? Do you think that everybody should get the same healthcare my grandmother does? Because I think so.
I mean, that one is one of the few ones I go back and forth on. You know, my basic one, obviously, being an anarchist, I don't want any government. So when you kind of go to that, it's more of the extreme.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
You know, my basic one, obviously, being an anarchist, I don't want any government. So when you kind of go to that, it's more of the extreme free market system.
But as an anarchist, you still want roads and bridges, and you want a sewer treatment system, and right? You want that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I live in Michigan, so, you know, people are like, oh, your taxes go to the roads. And I look outside, and there's potholes that could eat a Prius.
Right.
And where's my taxes going?
Right. That's the problem, right? I mean, everybody, so you agree on infrastructure spending, and I just think that healthcare is one of those things. It's like it's like grammar school, high school education. You just provide it to people. And that's what a government, that's the point of a government. You have to educate their people, make sure they have jobs.
No pushback from Jimmy Dore. No pushback. Yeah, I'm an anarchist, bro. Like, free market, man. Bro, man, like, I'm just, like, such an anarchist that, like, I don't even want roads anymore, bro. Bro, I'm, like, the biggest anarchist that you ever met. I don't even, like, healthcare or schmelthcare, bro. Free market.
And you make sure they have health care and clean water. That's what a government, and protect us from foreign and domestic enemies. That's what a government's supposed to do. And that's why we're a failed state. Because we have a system that renders 80% of the workers living paycheck to paycheck. Half the country can't afford a $500 emergency. And 90 million people don't have health care or uninsured. That's a third of the country. This is a failed state.
Not me, $10. Super chat. We should look at everything he says with the lens of inciting civil war. They're not bringing guns to BLM protests to protect them. They're bringing guns to give the cops and other supremacists reason to shoot. Yes. I agree. That's actually a really good analysis. Thank you for that. Like I tried to say that, again, their core organizational principle is civil war. Like, if they really wanted to, be anti-fascist militia protests or whatever, go do that. If you really cared about Black Lives Matter, go do that. You know, I don't, like, if I've gone to Black Lives Matter protests, I've gone to anti-fascist protests, I've gone to Medicare for All protests. When I go to those protests, I don't go there and say, I am a Boogaloo boy and I'm here. Like, I don't do that. I just go, like, hold up a sign and then, like, sing a chant or something. Right? Like, but this guy is like, oh, yes, I'm a Boogaloo boy and I'm here and I'm totally cool and everything's normal. I'm a Boogaloo boy, by the way. I'm the Boogaloo. Like, why are you saying that? It's a Black Lives Matter protest. Like, it's weird. It's all to whitewash the identity of the Boogaloo Boys, get more people interested in having a second civil war.
Check. Half the country can't afford a $500 emergency, and 90 million people don't have health care or uninsured. That's a third of the country. This is a failed state. It can't deliver the basic services to its people. This is a failed state, and we can't even get clean.
Yeah. This is a good comment from Jino. Wow, Dore was screaming at AOC for allegedly not wanting Medicare for All enough, but this Boogaloo boy admits he is ambivalent on Medicare for All in the first place, and Dore is still chummy. Yeah, no pushback, really. It's just, well, I don't know, man. Government. Are you an anarchist, bro? Again, he put anarchist in the title of the video. Again, just to remind everyone, in case people are new here, this is the most important part of the definition on the anarchist library that I resonate with. Anarchism promotes mutual aid, harmony, and human solidarity to achieve a free, classless society. So this dumb motherfucking bitch said, bro, I mean, like, roads and stuff, man, like, free market, bro, and it's like, you know, we could have, like, dirt roads, man, and then, like, also, like, healthcare, schmelthcare, bro, it's like the free market, man, and he calls himself an anarchist. A cooperative commonwealth, anarchism is both a theory and a practice of life. Philosophically, it aims for perfect accord between the individual, society, and nature. If that were the case, we would all have a universal healthcare system, okay? Free market, bro. I like the freest of the free markets, man. I'm an anarchist. In an anarchist society, mutually respectful, sovereign individuals would be organized in non-coercive relationships within naturally defined communities in which the means of production and distribution are held in common. This guy's like, free market, man. Woo! I just want to go, like, buy, like, a fucking, like, like a pickup truck and, like, a gun that shoots bullets that don't work, and then I'm gonna, like, blow my hands off, and then and then I'm gonna try to drive my pickup truck to the hospital, and it's not gonna work because it's a lemon, and someone just sold me a pickup truck that doesn't work, bro. Free market, man. Free market.
Water to people in Flint, Michigan, and there's lots of other places around the country we found out where there's lead in the water all over the place. They just don't
water
talk.
lights on fire.
That's right, or the water lights on fire, and they just don't talk about it in the news because the news is owned by the same cabal of billionaires. There's only 15 billionaires that own all the media in the country. So again, we live in an oligarchy. That media is there to manufacture consent. That's what people forget. They think when they turn on CNN or read the New York Times. That
Really, Jimmy Dore, the media is there to manufacture consent? Huh. Interesting hypothesis. Maybe turn that inward a little bit, maybe, you think?
they're getting the news. The first job of the reporters of the New York Times and the hosts on CNN is to manufacture consent for the establishment. That's their job. And if they get to tell you some news along the way, so be it. But that...
William Buhner, $5. I wish I could give more, but I appreciate you. Thanks for the breath of fresh air. I try my best. I appreciate y'all. After this is over, I'll probably sit and talk to the chat. I know Bodan has something they want me to read, but I'm sorry if I ignore people. It's just I don't like looking at the chat room too much during these segments. I'd rather just focus on this and then do it afterward. But this is a long segment, so it's like, okay.
That's their number one job, and that's why they want to shut us down, because we actually do tell you what is actually going on. We actually do tell you the news, and they can't handle that. Well, listen, anything else you want to... So you still, even without healthcare, you go back and forth because you fear the tyranny of the government. But it's not the government. It's the government just paying private people to give you healthcare, just kind of like how the government pays private construction companies to build roads.
Yeah, they're awful at both of those things. That's how I do it.
Well, you know, the most popular health insurance program in the country is Medicare. You know that? Like, all the old people love it.
Yeah, and I was on that very briefly, and then I was kicked off for making $100 more than to be.
Reminder, this guy, Jimmy Dore, doesn't know what an anarchist is. Like, he's given some pushback on healthcare, but not pushback on this guy identifying as an anarchist, but not wanting people to have roads.
Official on it, so that was fun.
I know, what a crazy... Well, I made the point...
Same thing with the COVID stuff, because I was a contractor before that. I'm unemployed now. I didn't receive a stimulus. I still haven't. I didn't get to receive unemployment. My business got no emergency relief.
So, like, the government's bad and stuff, so, like, I don't want poor people to have healthcare, because, like, you know, man, like, you know, like, the government's, like, you know, like, it's like the government, man, and then, like... So I want to, like, you know, dirt roads and shit, bro. Free market.
Because it was a single person, me, contractor business. So we just got told to get bent, have fun. No relief. I haven't even got my first stimulus. I'm waiting on my second one to see if that ever comes out. So a year contacting the IRS, contacting the government, being like, hey, where's my original $600? There's a lot of people that are in that situation right now, and the media won't talk about it. No.
I mean, I talk about it all the time. Half my family didn't get any stimulus. I talk about that all the time. So, but the media won't talk about it. The media.
It's a fail.
Anything I disagree with is the media.
State. And so, do you really fear a civil war? Like, what would a civil war? Like, who would you fight?
Here we go.
I would think it would go full Syria. I think the government would just collapse, and you would have like 32 different factions fighting each other one day, being friends the next day, just like it was in Syria. I see things falling down because a lot of people are like, oh, it'll be Republicans versus Democrats. Well, I'm not.
Reminder: this guy's like, well, bro, I'm an anarchist, bro, right? So everything I say is from like an anarchist perspective, because like. Bro, I'm an anarchist, man. So I want, like, a peaceful revolution, whatever that means, like, whatever. So that's what I want. But, you know, I think we're going to turn into Syria. We're going to have 32 different factions. The government's just going to disappear somehow. I'm not going to mention how that happens. It's just, okay, so the government's going to magically disappear. I don't know how it will. I can't describe that. But so now we're in a completely different world. We skipped a step. I've made up a completely fictitious world, and I'm not going to describe how we fucking got there. So the government's going to like disappear and somehow, and then 32 and then Syria, and then bro, I'm an anarchist, bro.
I'm not fighting for either of those sides. You're not gonna see Jimmy Dore carrying the flag of Joe Biden into battle. But there's a lot of micro factions. There's a lot of people that don't disagree, and the media has everyone so whipped up. And especially being on the ground, there's a lot of bloodlust. There's a lot of people that are like, screw this, let's just get it over with, and that's scary. That's really scary.
How big of a group of people would you say that are ready to go?
I would say probably 20% of both political parties are like ready to fight, and probably like 30% of them are starting to, you know, eye the gun store and thinking about it. Because you even saw
20% of Democrats are ready to fight. We all know that 20% of North Americans are authoritarians. We know that anywhere between 20 to 30% of Americans voted for Donald Trump. We know that 20 or 30% of Americans don't wash their hands. We know about 20 to 30% of Americans don't believe in germs. So interesting how that number keeps cropping up. But now this guy is going to be like, yeah, 20% of Democrats are eyeing guns. It's like, okay, for what?
What was it, John Bennon or whatever, that idiot on CNN this morning that was saying we need to investigate all these terror groups, and he included libertarians, which are just like a bunch of weed-smoking capitalists, and they included that as domestic terrorists. So we're getting towards.
So this guy is a, quote, weed-smoking capitalist, but also an anarchist?
That rapidly. And then obviously I think you're going to talk about today, Facebook deciding that all the left-wing political groups are no longer convenient to them, so banning them today.
I tried to tell people, everywhere, when I was at the Young Turks, I'm like, you push for censorship, it's going to come back.
If you push for censorship, someone with 2,000 followers on Twitter said that it's funny that Donald Trump got banned, and because of that, it's like a domino. If someone on Twitter with 2,000 followers didn't say that it was funny that Donald Trump got banned, then guess what? Facebook would have been like, oh, I guess we can't get away with this. I guess we can't censor people. But because random people online, it's not like big tech had this capability the whole time. And they were actively censoring left-wing. That's what people like Jimmy Dore don't know. Because he's never been censored. To him, losing 1,000 followers on Twitter is censorship. Oh! But to the rest of us, oh, I said fuck you to a TERF on Twitter and my account's banned. What? Oh, a gay person says, why are you being so homophobic? And then your account gets banned. What? Oh, never heard of it. Censorship's my favorite issue to talk about, but I've somehow never heard of left-wingers getting censored. I mean, look at fucking slavery. That's one hell of a fucking giant censorship campaign, right? But I'm just going to use the term censored to describe big tech attacking me and Donald Trump. It's not like, I don't know, left-wingers have been getting censored literally since the dawn of fucking capitalism or the dawn of humanity, it's almost like. No. It's just big tech, bro.
You don't know that. You don't know that. They know that, and they don't care. And people because they're on the corporate algorithm, they don't care.
Right.
But anyway, it's scary what's going on. So you think that there would be an economic collapse, or economic collapse, which would lead to a failure of government completely, and then it would just kind of go off to warring factions.
Yeah, everything would go to hell.
So this guy thinks that the government's going to dissolve tomorrow, without any that's it. That's what this guy thinks. The government's going to dissolve tomorrow. My lord. I'm going to read all the super chats as soon as this is over. I'm going to try to power through this.
I mean, we already saw it in terms of economic collapse. I've lived through 4 economic crises so far, and now I think was it 32% of all U.S. dollars have been printed in the last couple months to go fund giving $200,000 to Syria, who we've been trying to go to war with since I graduated high school. For some reason. So
yes,
I definitely see.
They've definitely been trying to go to war with Syria, and now we're going to do a story about Joe Biden sending troops back into the oil fields. I wonder why we want to go to war in Syria. Literally sending troops into the oil fields. That was the headline.
Yep.
So
it feels like we're back in 2013. We just reset the clock, and Obama's president again. We're going to start bombing Yemen or something.
But we're going to go into Venezuela. They're going to overthrow Venezuela. They're going to go put more troops back into Iraq. They're going to put more troops back into Afghanistan. They're going to go into Syria. And who else knows where else? Who knows? I bet there's a couple more African countries they want to go into.
John McCain's ghost is going to start appearing in Eastern European countries.
Yes. So, well, Magnus Panvidya. Vidya, did I say it right? How do you say it? Vidya. A Boogaloo boy who is anti-racist, pro-LGBT, anti-ICE detention centers, anti-war, and anti-police brutality, and pro-Black Lives Matter. Thanks for coming on the show, and please come.
One thing real quick that I wanted to say very quickly. To everyone watching, if you do find someone who is an actual neo-Nazi and has Hawaiian on, send me a message on Twitter, and we will find them and deal with them. Help us deal with that problem, please.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll look forward to you out there for doing security at more Black Lives Matter protests.
Hopefully we won't have to.
Okay, all right. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you all our
okay, so I'm sorry, it's finally over. My God. I just want to apologize for everyone who had to deal with that. I did not know I would last an hour talking about it, but I mean, it's a pretty legendarily bad video. This might be the worst video Jimmy Dore has ever done. So I'm glad if anyone watched this, and they've got the positive takeaways, if now they know what the definition of anarchism is, that's a good thing. Jimmy Dore wants you to be done. He wants you to think this guy's an anarchist. He doesn't care if you know what basic political terms mean. He doesn't care, because the only thing he cares about is having you watch his show and you give him super chats and subscriptions and share his content. That's all he gives a fuck about. My show, I'm defining terms. I'm exposing lies. This is a good show. Let me read some super chats. Okay, I'm going to read Bodan's message first. Okay, Bodan. The first time I saw your Doom videos on YouTube, I had no idea you were so politically conscious and intelligent, and more importantly, willing to educate other people. I was nicely surprised of your personality. Thank you, Bodan. I appreciate it. My whole thing right now is I have been through a lot of problems in my life. I have gone through a lot of pain and suffering in my life. And I don't want anyone to ever have to go through that. So there's multiple levels of that. One, I advocate for political change that would help people's lives become better. And then two, I advocate for people to make personal changes to their lives that would make them better tomorrow. Like, for example, you can start eating healthily tomorrow. You can, and you should. You can stop eating added sugar. For example, if you make pasta, right, and you buy jarred tomato sauce in glass jars typically has added sugar. Getting canned tomato sauce or just making your own tomato sauce, whatever, is going to be the best way to avoid added sugar. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people are just eating gallons of fructose every single week, not knowing what's in their food, right? So that's a personal change you can make tomorrow. You can make that change. You can make it tomorrow. So, I mean, yeah, we should advocate for Medicare for all. We should advocate for an anarchist society, absolutely. But we should also advocate for each other to be healthy. We should advocate to each other to be educated. We should advocate to each other to be the best people they can be. I want to be the best possible version of myself constantly. So tomorrow, I want to be a better version of myself than I was today. That's my goal, okay? And I think everyone should strive to do that. I think if we all strive to be bettering ourselves, it's only it's a downstream of people like us being able to help other people better themselves. So I'm all about that shit. So I just wanted to say thank you. Now let's read some super chats. Bodan didn't give me money and I spent fucking 2 minutes on their message. Now let's get to the money. The dark money. So Andreas gives 5 euros. I would give more, but you are a corporate sellout. That's actually correct. Jojo Diatiste gives $5 dues. Jimmy is either a Fed hiding his power level or a Strasserite at this point. Sure, I would agree with that. Back in the early 2000s, back in the early 2000s, Nazis would steal the stages at our punk shows and try to recruit kids by talking about anarchism. Same old lies. Yup. Thank you for that. $4.99 by the way. And then Tokyo Goida, $20. That's an orange super chat, everybody. I've received an orange super chat. The thing that's blurred, which appears to have been blurred out after the fact by Jimmy Dore, is the guy's assault rifle. Yeah, I don't know if there's like a policy of showing guns on YouTube. There probably is. Jimmy Dore's, which is probably erring on the safe side. But isn't it interesting that Jimmy Dore talks about censorship and he literally censored the guy's gun? Literally. The guy talks about censorship all day, every day, and he censored the guy's gun? Huh. Talk about hypocrisy. But again, I'm going to end this segment here with, if you watch this as an individual video, you can watch the full show. I stream every single day at 10 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And I am an anarchist, and I take this stuff relatively seriously. And I don't like when people that are popular lie about basic terms. When someone with 1 million YouTube subscribers lies to his audience about what the definition of anarchism is, I take offense to that, and I'm going to try to correct the record. That's what I'm here for. And so again, I stream live every single day at 10 a.m. Later tonight, I will be streaming the second half of the Force the Vote Bad Faith debate between Bree and Samuel Lincoln, no less. And so that will be happening. I watched the first half last night. You can catch up on that if you'd like. I'll do the second half tonight. It's a 3-hour debate. I'm sorry. It took me a while, and I paused a lot because I love to pontificate, right? So yeah. So that's the end. That's the end of my hour and 20-minute segment about Jimmy Dore. I made a feature-length film about Jimmy Dore. Unbelievable. Who would have thought that I'd get to that point in my life where I created a feature-length film about Jimmy Dore?
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ